Everybody, welcome back to another installment at T.C.B. Garage. Today we are in the garage working on Headache Hummer. That's right, Hummer has been quite the headache. We're in here. We're going to start on the frame today. I've already got a pretty good start on it. Did a lot of stuff off camera. Figured it'd probably be a little on the boring side. So we got our leaf spring removed. We got our rear end just sitting here on a couple bricks out of the way. Had to remove our sway bar link right there. What else did we have to do? We had to take off the whole back bumper, which is sitting right here. And now I'm about to work on getting the muffler taken off, because a lot of this bracing here is going to have to get fixed. Area right here is going to have to get cut out, new metal put there, then across the top also, and of course our back bumper here. But we do got a 2x4 sheet of 1/8 inch steel. It's going to be our fabricating metal. Also had to order a new leaf spring. When the leaf spring mount in the rear separated from the frame, everything got pushed back and it actually broke your main leaf that goes from the front to the back, about right here in front of where it mounts to the rear end. So we had to replace the leaf spring. I've got a new shackle mount ordered because the one that was on the frame was toast. It's completely gone. So we're going to have to get that on. I'm still waiting to get that. But what we're going to do today is we're going to get our frame cut out. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a notch cut. So we're going to cut it here. I'm going to use this hole, come across here, and then cut it here. It's a lot more support. It's a lot better repair than if I made a straight cut. So we're going to notch it here, and then we're going to have to leave this section still good. On the other side, it's not so good. And then all this is going to get rebuilt with new metal. The little cross brace is going across here. I don't know if we can see. There's some light in there. Right there, you can see where that's all rotted out. So that's not in the best shape. Luckily, our mount back here for the body is pretty good. I'll just replace this with some nice new metal in there. And then we'll look at the underside. And I'll show you how bad that is underneath there. Alright, so we see right here, everything's really good, in good shape up here. But of course right here, I don't know if we can pick it up on camera. I think we can. We got some rot there, so all this is going to have to be replaced. And then of course back here, everything is really ate up. The shock mounted about right here. So that's where the new shackle will go on when or the new shackle mount will go on when we get this all rebuilt. And then of course right here on our cross bracing like I was talking about, that's pretty bad. Right here it's all pretty good. We can see that. Right here it's pretty good. Right here not so much. And then of course the same for right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the muffler took out so we can get access to all this. We're going to get our notch cut done, and then all this rest of this stuff's going to come right out. So that's what I'm going to work on right now, getting this stuff all cut out. Alright, now so we got the muffler out of the way, we can get a much better view of what exactly has to be done with the frame. So let me get the light over here a little bit. There we go. Alright, so that's a much better, gives us a much better idea of what's going to have to be done. Alright, so we're still going to cut the frame up the front there. Then I'm going to come up right here, do a cut across here, 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 and here. Because a lot of this metal on this cross bracing is going to have to be replaced. So that'll allow me to work on that simultaneously with rebuilding the frame section. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to notch the frame out, and then we're going to cut this stuff, and then the whole frame's just going to drop right down. So let me get to cutting it out. Alright. Hey guys, so hopefully this is all get picked up, and the lighting isn't necessarily the best right here. But we're going to cut in that frame. Alright, when doing this you want to use a nice new Sawzall blade. Alright, you do not want to use an old bent up blade, and we're just going to go real nice and slow. Try to get some nice straight cuts. First cut's made. We're going to come along and we're going to get our bottom cut, or side cut. Alright, we just got one more cut to go. Frame's going to be cut here. Alright guys, she's separated. So now all we need to do is cut right back here. And then our frame is going to, she's going to drop out. So let's get to cutting this back brace. And then the frame will be out of the truck. Alright guys, so we got the frame cut out. Utilized some of my windshield installers. Little suction cups here. Put a bungee cord on it. Wrap that around the frame so we didn't fall. But with this disconnected, the frame's actually pretty light. But there she is, guys. There's our frame. And then the best part about it is all the metal up here. It's a really good shape. It's nice and thick still. So I think we're going to get a really good repair out of this. So alright, so now we got to start doing a lot of fabrication. So we're going to work on getting this is going to be the hard part, getting everything rebuilt. But it shouldn't be too bad. The very top rail of the frame is all good. None of this is really ate up. So that's going to be really good. That's going to make things a lot easier. Basically all we're going to be doing is like removing our sway bar mount. I'm going to grind that off probably. Then reattach it to the new metal. Rebuilding our rear mount. And then our shock mount, I'm going to have to take that off because this is pretty thin right in here. Like I said, it's nice and thick right here, which is good. So, yeah, it's going to be we're going to be doing a little bit of fabrication. So, all right, we'll start getting everything set up for all that. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's get to it. All right, guys. So it's been a couple days since we got the frame cut out, and I've ran into a couple issues. First off, let me show you what we've gotten done. I did get a little bit of stuff done off camera, but we got I guess it would be the outside part of the frame. We got the metal put in here. I know my welds aren't the greatest. I'm nowhere near a professional welder, but everything is pretty solid. But part of the problem I did run into is my old Century welder here, my 100 amp welder, is just, I think it's seen better days. I was having issues with the wire feed on it. I was having issues with it getting really good penetration. So I did go and buy a new welder. So we got a titanium welder. It's from Harbor Freight. It's a 140 MIG welder. Also takes gas. I did not use that to attach this piece. I did use my old welder. The welds are good, but everything's going to need to be ground down. It's sort of on the ugly side, but I did use it to put the mount back on. So we got our body mount on, and then we got our metal in here. But what we need to do is we need to flip it around and work on the other side. So that's what we're going to do now. Like I said, it's been a couple days since I had this cut out of the Hummer. So we're going to flip it around. We're going to get all these sections cut off. Also was waiting on some parts to come in. I got new shackle hangers because the other one was pretty ate up. So one of these is definitely going to go on the driver's side. I think I might attach the other one on the other side so everything is proportionate. The other side isn't as bad as this side, of course. But these are pretty beefier, a lot beefier than stock. They are going to need to be welded in, of course, and then of course this is going to have to be welded onto the bracket. So what we're going to do though is we're going to get this flipped around and we're going to start cutting this stuff off so we can see what all we have to do to rebuild it. Like this piece here is pretty ate up, part of the bracing. This is good right here, so we're going to build back towards the frame. And the same here. This is pretty ate up. The shock mount thankfully is in pretty good shape. We just need to get it cut off, and that way we can put the metal in behind it. But let me get this flipped around and we'll see what we got working with. Alright guys, so we got the shock mount off, and then we got the rear brace, which is off right here. So we're going to have to replace the metal back in here, and then this is just going to get mounted right back in the original spot. This is our first cross brace, then there's our second one right here. We'll use the shock mount as a pointer. Alright. So the only thing we got to get off now is our second brace and then our sway bar link mount. So it should all come off pretty easy, and then the rest of this stuff is just cutting it, building her back. Alright, let's keep going. Alright guys, so it's actually the next morning from that last clip where I was taking apart the frame, getting everything cut off the back side of it. So we do have the frame still in the vise. But what I did last night is I rust treated all these areas, both inside and outside of the frame, with a rust treater. But we got everything cut out, everything squared off. So this whole section all through here to here is what we're going to be replacing. We got our shock mount off of here. We got a little damage over here we're going to have to fix. The shock mount itself is still pretty solid and pretty good shape, so that shouldn't be an issue. Also did a rust treatment on that. Then we got our cross brace, where we're going to have to do a little work right up in here and in here, especially right there. And then thankfully our sway bar mount is in pretty good shape. We just got one little thin spot right here. If you can see that, there we go. There's a little hole right there. Everything else is pretty good, pretty solid. So I've already got our piece that's going to go in here marked out, It's a tad bit oversized, so we can trim it down a little bit to get it to fit in real nice. But we're going to work on getting this piece cut out and then getting it put into the frame. Alright, so we ran into a little bit of a technical difficulty there. I had the camera filming on the tripod while I was cutting the other piece of metal for the outside part of the frame, and the tripod fell over and I did not notice that. So some of the stuff I've gotten done after it fell, but we've got, move this around here. Alright, so we got that piece all welded in here. Like I said, I am not a professional welder, guys, but hey, it is together. It's all good. So we got that piece in on the frame, and then I also got the bottom plate started on welding it in. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing back on a tripod. We're going to try this again. We're going to finish up welding this, and then we're moving on to our brackets that need to be reattached to the frame. But everything's looking really good. Everything's going together really good. The frame's still nice and straight, so I am really happy with how it's how it's going back together. So let's get this thing on a tripod, and let's do some welding on camera this time that's actually being filmed. Alright, so we got the bottom plate all welded up, and everything looks pretty good. Not the prettiest welds. Like I said, man, I am not a professional welder, but welding is fundamentally just sticking two pieces of metal together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the grinder out. We're going to clean up some of these welds. All this stuff on the bottom has to be flat, because our leaf spring mount is going to go somewhere about right here. So I want that all nice and flat so it sits nice and even. Right now it is sort of not. And then of course we got to start working on all of our brackets right here. We've got our sway bar bracket that has to go on. We've got this bracket that has to go on. All this has to be fixed. cut out. Metal's good about right here, so we're gonna have to do some heavy fabricating on this. And of course, this one also here. These need cut. And like I said, the shock mount itself is in good shape, thank goodness. So, alright, I'm gonna get the grinder out. We're gonna start grinding down these welds. And then clean this up some. Then also I gotta put a little plate right here to tie these two. I do have a little bit of rust right here, so I think I'm going to plate over that to tie everything together really good right here. So yeah, we're gonna work on doing all of that. All right. Alright, so we got all of our welds ground down on the frame here, and they look a little bit better. Not too shabby, huh? And I also got my shock mount tacked in place with a couple tacks here. Just checked it on the underside of the Hummer to make sure all this lined up. Everything does. The mount's lining up. I know this is where it needs to be because you could see I left where it was welded onto the original frame, the grind marks there. And also I left this top plate here, so all that's lined up, and I was really wanting to make sure this bracket lines up with, it's going to be pretty dark, but with the bracket underneath here, which it all does. So I'm really, really happy that's going back. Looks like it's going to go back together really good. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to get this welded in here and across here. And then we're going to patch it in right here. I think I might cut this out, or I might just put a plate over top of it. I'm not sure. I was just really worried about this all being in the spot it needs to be in, so everything lines back up when I go to put it back inside the vehicle. But yeah, we're going to get welding on this. And then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with that. So, alright, let's get into it. Alright, so we got the shock mount welded on. Everything looks pretty good, went on really good. Like I said, it's in the right spots. We have to work on getting our other cross member bracket on and our sway bar bracket. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do those off camera. Then I'm going to come back. We're going to do this in a two-part series. So I think I'll come back when I have everything done, ready to go, and mount back into the Hummer. So the next video is going to, it'll involve putting the frame back in, getting the spring put back on, getting the rear end hooked back up, and hopefully taking this thing for a road test and everything holding together. Yeah, sound real confident, don't I? Anyways, I think we'll be okay. I think it's going to work just fine. Yeah, look out for the second video on fixing the Hummer. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Hopefully this helps some of you guys out. If anybody wants to do this, it is possible. This is my first time doing anything like this, of this this substantial, so I think it's turning out pretty good. I think we're gonna save the Hummer from either being parted out or going to the junkyard. It's way too nice of a vehicle for that. So yeah, I think we're going to add some years to the Hummer by fixing its frame. So alright guys, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get in there and get washed up. Been out here for about 9 hours today. So alright, look for video number 2. Everybody have a good one.